Flat earthers are a hardy bunch, aren't they? Always coming up with new theories and reasons for already well-known natural phenomena. They seem to think that it's okay to just make stuff up in order for things to suit their narrative. Well, there are some things that they absolutely cannot explain whatsoever. And today we're going to take a look at a few of those. This is 5 things flat earthers can't explain. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, a slight change of pace today as we put the Flat Earth commentary to the side for 1 week and give them a stern reality check regarding things that they've got absolutely no clue about. I have carefully selected 5 phenomena which I believe would give even the most skilled flat earther some trouble. And we're going to start with lunar eclipses. Now, flat earthers spend a lot of time talking about the moon and focus on its light properties quite a bit. When it comes to lunar eclipses though, I have never, in all of my time doing this, heard of an explanation as to how a lunar eclipse happens that even the most gullible flat earther would believe. They simply have nothing. Now granted, they make a lot of videos regarding what they think is wrong with lunar eclipses, but this is a pointless exercise because lunar eclipses do happen. You can witness them and photograph them. How do they explain the circular shadow cast by the Earth onto this lunar eclipse composite, for example? They can't. Now, I've heard explanations for a solar eclipse. They simply say that the moon in their model passes beneath the sun, but when it comes to the physical processes that cause lunar eclipse, the flat earthers are found wanting. So, a full explanation please guys for not only how the process occurs, but what exactly is causing the shadow on the moon and why does it turn red? I know why it turns red, but I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts. Right, off to a flyer, and the second thing on our list is tides. Now, we obviously have a very thorough and conclusive explanation for the tides, with gravity being a main reason. As flat earthers don't think that gravity is a thing, then I'd be very keen to hear their reasoning for what causes the tides. What are the mechanics of them? Why do they occur? Again, this is something I have not heard explained very well at all by flat earthers. Here's an old video of mine with Phuket Word trying to have a go.
So this means that millions of tons of water is being shifted, and we are told that this is because of the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth. But the high and low tides are occurring 4 times a day, with the moon going overhead just once a day in any given location.
Now, what I really would be interested in is their reasoning for why there are different tidal ranges at different locations. Let me explain further. Now, as we all know, one of the things that flat earthers say regularly is that water does not curve and that it finds its level. Now, if that truly is the case, how do you explain that the tidal range in the Bristol Channel is 12 to 14 metres? And yet the tidal range in Delaware Bay on the other side of the Atlantic is only 1.5 metres. Or even a simple explanation as to why the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean do not sit at the same level either. All of that explained with one theory would be lovely, please, flat earthers. Thank you. Next up, we're going to take a look at the planets. I have personally seen with my own eyes in detail 4 planets through my telescope. Here is a photo I took of Jupiter. Now, of course, flat earthers may have an explanation for the planets themselves, fine, but what about their retrograde motion? Mars, for example, spends time moving in one direction in the sky, and then for a couple of months it will loop back round and start travelling in the opposite direction, and then loop back and carry on the way it was going before. Now, the explanation for this isn't immediately simple, but it is wonderful proof that we both orbit the Sun. You see, It is the very fact that we orbit the Sun at all that this retrograde motion happens. Mars travels across our sky each night because we're both moving around the Sun. However, as we start to catch up with Mars and pass it by, because of our closer orbit, Mars appears to move backwards across the sky each night. Then as we pass it and Mars continues on, it travels back the way it did before. Now all of this is quite impossible for flat earthers because according to them, we don't orbit anything and the planets aren't even real. So what even is Mars in the sky? It's quite visible at certain times when it isn't behind the Sun. Why does it move in different directions compared to the backdrop of stars? And what powers it? It is a phenomena that you can witness. I'm all ears on that one. Silence, I see. Okay, perhaps you can fare better with the next one. The Sun. And more specifically, how it generates heat. The Sun is obviously a topic that is much discussed amongst flat earthers. However, I often hear them say we don't know how big it is, we don't know how far away it is, but we know it's not 93 million miles. We don't know what powers it, we don't know what keeps it up in the sky, we don't know if it is even a physical object, etc, etc. With all due respect to flat earthers, what do you know about it? It's bright? We have well-developed and logical proofs that show exactly what the Sun is. We've studied it in great detail and have scientific evidence for its distance, without assuming a globe Earth, its temperature, its composition and its interior mechanics. Now what I want to know from you flat earthers is, in your made-up little world, what exactly generates the heat that you feel on your face when you stand outside in the sun? You all cite thermodynamics regularly, so you must stand by these laws and understand that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. So, how does the Sun generate heat? Where does that energy come from? And how is it propagated? Answers on a postcard for that one, please. Right, on to our last one, and this one is an absolute flat earth killer for those that believe in the disk, which most of them do. Now, even if they don't believe this, and they've got no map, it still asks a lot of questions of those people, and it involves the southern pole stars. This one is a simple one, and all I require is one simple answer. If three people stood in Australia, South Africa and Chile and they were all looking due south, how in the blue blazers are they all seeing the exact same stars? Because let me assure you, they absolutely do. Think about that one for a minute, flat earthers. Take all the time you need and then sink to your knees as your little made-up world falls apart around your ears. Wow, what a massacre. If any of you flat earthers would be interested in having a go at answering my 5 questions or 5 things you can't explain, I'll be very interested to hear the answers that you can give for them. If you know any flat earthers, send in this video, get them to answer, and then if you can, get their responses and send them back to me. If by some miraculous reason flat earthers send in a video which they think answers all 5 questions, which is highly unlikely, I do have a part 2, so watch this space. Right, that wraps up another Flat Earth Friday for this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, then please do like and subscribe. I'll be thoroughly appreciative. Remember, on April the 1st, the Simon Dan Show begins with a 6-episode season. I have been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday where we will be once again lifting the lid. See you then.